came up with the look of your characters. Can you tell me how that came about?
I mean, I started getting in preparation, started getting into who Kenny Wells was, and then all of a sudden I kind of looked up in the mirror one day and noticed that I had put on about 18 pounds. So I was like, well, this is, okay, that's right. This is who Kenny Wells is, a consumer of life, food, drink, smoke, everything. So, and then I looked back at my own life and the Kenny Wells I had met through my dad. They were all large, physically almost larger than life. And I always said, Kenny's not fat, Kenny's full. He's a full man. When I say consuming life, they all were kind of heavy, but they were kind of burly and strong, and they weren't people that looked in the proverbial mirror. And most of them didn't live past 60 years old either. Most of them died of heart attacks early because of their lifestyle.
How about the hair?
That was inspired by a couple of Kenny Wells I knew.
Thanks, guys. Sorry.
All right, now.
How did you find your way into the character?
Well, Stephen Gage's fine writing. You know, I mean, it was all there. It was all there. I think that the mystery and the enigma and he's a very reserved character, and that was, you know, it was there's an epic element to this character. You know, also some sort of poetry to him. You know, and also the fact that regardless of all the science and all the technology that goes behind gold mining, him being the geologist, it is a very instinctive activity. I mean, in the end, there's no way to know for sure that you're going to find gold or that you're going to find any metal or any stone in a specific place. I mean, you assess it and you think that you might, you know, that there are certain indicators that suggest that gold might be there, but it's always a hunch. So it is kind of poetic in my opinion, that you just get a bunch of people, workers, machines, and a lot of people investing money on your hunches, just your hunch. I mean, I think that the gold must be around here, and you just, you know, like throw a stick on the ground and say you're gonna drill here, almost like Moses. I mean, there's like a prophetic aspect to it, and then it's not there, you know.
So most of your scenes are in Indonesia, right?
But we shot the movie set in Indonesia, the story, but we shot in Thailand.
So what was that like working with Matthew?
It was fantastic. It was beautiful. It was great. I mean, he's such a fun guy. You know, he's fun and he's lovely and open and generous. I had the time of my life working with him. We became very good friends. So every day was an adventure. You know, we even because the river. You know, we were shooting in the middle of the monsoon season, and then the water raised 5, 6, 10, 13 feet, and we lost locations, we lost sets, and our schedule was so messed up that there were moments that we had to sleep in our trailers in the middle of the jungle just to make the hours, just to make it up to the schedule. So we were looking at I listened to all the sounds of the jungle, and drinking wine, and you know, it was like movies were made in the 70s, you know, just being there in the mud and in the wilderness.
Can you share what you admire about Matthew?
He's a free spirit, and I think that has informed his acting very much. You know, I think that he's a very free person. He doesn't get hung up in any drama. He lives the drama for the characters, and he lives a very free life, and that is very inspiring. Yeah, thank you.
I had basically only 3 weeks of shooting, and they called and sent the script and said, would you be interested in doing this? And it was just, I was so ready to kind of dive into something that was that where I felt it was going to be an acting environment where I could just kind of like shake it out and have fun and be experimental and have this immersive experience. And I mean, this was amazing. Like, witnessing his performance was honestly a privilege.
Sort of the moral compass of this.
Yeah. It's nice to be the sensible person. I mean, I guess not always. It's nice to have misbehaviors as well. But it's, I mean, I think that the story of this movie is based on a true story, and it's just so crazy, and the twists and turns are so insane. It's almost like you would never believe that something like that could happen. And so I think having a character like mine to sort of be a counterpart to to him grounds the story as a whole, because otherwise you're like, oh my gosh, this is wild.
So these writers, Massett and Zinman, had created this great script. They'd been on the blacklist. It reminded me of like Treasure of Sierra Madre. You know, it was swinging for the fences. It was a kind of man against himself, man against nature kind of story. Guy who goes up in the mountains, you know, to seek his fortune, goes in the jungle to seek his fortune. And it's not very far from that to draw some parallels with the movie business. You know, when you're trying to write and direct a movie, you have a vision, you have a dream, you commit it to paper, you create it, and then you have to go out and make it. It's very difficult, and most of the time movies don't happen. You know, most of the time the door gets shut in your face. Most of the time you hit the frustrated, you know, we're almost there, it almost happened, oh, it fell apart at the last second. And so, you know, I've been in the movie business a long time, and I'm no stranger to that stuff. So I tapped into all that.
Can you talk about Matthew's look? It's pretty unique. How'd you come up with that?
Matthew had a lot of insight how he wanted this guy to look. You know, he was basing it on people he knew growing up, people in the oil business, like his father who sold materials in the oil business, his brother Rooster who did the same thing. And so he came with a lot of insight about how the man would be, how he would talk, how he would walk, how he would dress. And I was a beneficiary of that. You know, I had my own thoughts to it, but it was a collaboration.
Speak about shooting on location. You went to Asia.
Yeah, it was Thailand. It was like the greatest experience of my life, you know, having my family with me, my children and Matthew's kids and Teddy's and all of us running around together in these like really out of the way, you know, 2 hours up in a jungle with the 30-foot snakes and the, you know, 14-inch spiders. And, you know, we had floods, we had avalanches, we had everything you can imagine. You know, but we wanted that. I wanted it. I wanted the monsoon in the movie. I wanted a real monsoon. I wanted a real jungle. And so I was lucky, you know, my producers were able to give it to me, and I think it really plays a role. It's like another character in the movie, and I think we got it.
Absolutely.
What was it like directing a tiger?
Okay, sure. You know, it's very interesting about tigers. Tigers are not actors. You know, tigers are not your friend, and they're not pets. They're motivated by one thing and one thing only, which is food. So a tiger eats about 26 pounds of meat in a day. So there's meat, there's a long stick with the meat on it, and when that meat runs out, the tiger's day is done. Because he's no longer going to be motivated. You can't motivate him and you can't control him. So I learned a lot about tigers.
Speak about working with Édgar.
Édgar's a genius. I mean, he's if you ever seen the movie Carlos, you know that he's one of the best actors alive. I think he has like an innate old school movie star quality, and that's really what I wanted to tap into. I knew him personally long before we did the movie, and I liked him. And I felt like as Matthew was large, Édgar would have this mystique, and that the two things one would chase the other, and they would be very, very dynamic together. And I hope, you know, if you see the movie, I hope it turned out to be true.
You have great chemistry. Can you speak about collaborating with Bryce?
Oh man, Bryce is the best. She's the nicest person I've ever met. You know, everyone says about Ron Howard, he's the nicest person anyone's ever met. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so she's a great actress. You know, she was able to, I mean, with looks, generate, like literally one look across a bar, generate an entire history between these characters. And that's a real gift, you know, real artistry. And just one of the coolest people you'll ever hang out with. Her husband's a great guy. Again, I just feel like I made friends, you know. I sort of have a crush on her husband. I think he's so cool, but anyway.
You know, I think my character is a shark, and he's all about trying to be as efficient as possible, and so the hair was in the way.
They have some scenes with Matthew there, Bryce, especially where he's getting very explosive. And what was that like to film? You know?
It was great. I mean, the more your scene partner brings, the less you have to invent. And yeah, he's an incredible scene partner. He's bringing such a specific and unignorable, unique energy.